Hello everybody. Hello everybody. So welcome to the live classroom, and today we're going to go through some information about the language features for writing an email. And for those people who are entry 3, we'll be looking at how do you put the email together. For those of you who are level 1 or level 2, it's important that you actually look at the language that's used, that's formal or informal. And then we'll have a look at spelling. So the spelling that's used on the work today is going to be from the entry 3 exam. So first of all, hello, and on the screen you can see a number of examples of how we might informally say hello. What gives? What's new? Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's happening? What's the rumpus? Do you know? And this is one that I didn't know actually. How wags the world? Never heard that one, but apparently there are some areas of the country where people will say this to you instead of hello. How do you do? That's rather more formal. How are you getting on? How are you doing? So you can see that there is a difference between how we say hello, and I'm going to start in the classroom today by writing hi, and that's very informal. So if you are in the classroom, remember, I can't see you, you can see me. So if you do get the chance to write hi or hello in the text box, please do that. So while the classroom is recorded live, you're able to write comments or questions in the chat box. The classroom will be recorded, so if you're watching this as a recording, I will have turned off the live chat, and that's just something that happens between myself and the learners who are in the classroom at the time that we work. So, hello everybody. To begin with, how are you? So there's lots of answers that you might give to that, but I'm very pleased to see that people have sent me messages to say that they're well, or that they're quite happy, or that they've got lots of things that they can do because we're all at home. And I want to remind you that next week and the week after is Easter holidays for us, so you will see less activity in the classroom from Lynn and I. So Lynn and I will be having Easter holiday. We're all at home, but we'll be having our Easter holiday at home. And let's have a look who's just popped into the classroom. Ezra, hello, good to see you. How are you? Feels like a long time since I've seen everybody. So I'm hoping that you're going to say you're happy, or that at least if you're not always happy, I'm hoping that you feel okay. So it's very important to keep in touch with everybody. Remember that Easter holiday means 2 weeks when you might not see as much activity on the classroom. And we have somebody else who's popped in today. Edda, good to see you. Hi, how are you? And in that 2 weeks, I might be doing some live classrooms, but not as often. So if you do subscribe to the channel, then you'll get a notification to say when those live classrooms are happening. If you are a learner from Doncaster, then you will know through your Google Classrooms when those live classes are happening. So hopefully everybody is happy. Good to see you. And everybody is okay. And we're going to have a look at why we've gone a little bit backwards there. So let's have a look at you're happy, you're okay, and we're moving on. So today it's important that we think about spelling. Now, why is it important? Well, in the writing test for entry level 3 functional skills, if your exam board is City and Guilds, you will have 10 words to spell. Now, these might not be the words that I'm using today. They might not be the words that you use in practice. What's important about the spelling is that you learn the sounds that go with each word, or you learn spelling patterns, because none of your teachers, I don't know what words you will get in that test. Well, do we agree? Spelling is fun. Some people worry about their spelling. Let's have a look at whether you can choose the correct word. So I'm going to put some words on the screen, and only one of them is spelt correctly. So where you are at home, I want you to either jot down or think, oh yes, I think it's that word. And then we're going to have a look at which word it is. So we're looking today for the word various. So you have various spellings there, and I want you to think about which word is spelt correctly. Does anybody want to have a go at writing on the chat which word they think it is? And if not, just think mentally in your head, I think that's the word that's correct spelling. Shall we have a look? Yes, various. The correct spelling for various, V-A-R-I-O-U-S. So you'll know if you chose the correct word. Oh, hi, I can see now that you're in the classroom as well. That's good. I hope you're well. Yes, well done. It is various, V-A-R-I-O-U-S. So again, various is your noun when you're talking about a number of things, and vary is your verb. So when we vary what we do, we change what we do. But when we use the word various, we mean there are different things. So I've put on the classroom there just a very quick link that you could possibly use if you wanted to check your spelling or have a go at your spelling, and you can rewind the video later and have a look at how that works. So another word that we have today is going to be communicate. So I'm going to show you several words, and they all say communicate, but you have to decide which word is the correct spelling. Well, you got various spelt correctly there. I wonder if you could do communicate. Communicate. So we're communicating today because I'm live in the classroom at the same moment that you're watching this video. So we're communicating with each other. We might be doing that by phone, and hopefully you're communicating with your family by chatting or phoning them. So which word do you think it will be? Shall we check? That's the correct spelling for communicate. And this is an entry level 3 word for functional skills. So remember, if you're level 1 or level 2, it's really important that you got that right. And if you didn't, perhaps go back to look at some of the entry level 3 spellings to see if you can do them. So our next word will be ought. This is an interesting English word, ought. How is it spelled? Because when we say you ought to do something, we say this is something that really, how would we describe ought? I ought to say hi to everybody. So that means that really I should. So if we use the word should, Soma, it's good to see you. Hi. Ezra, well done. Communicate, you got the correct spelling. Does anybody know how would we spell ought? I ought to just pop back on and say hi to people who've just joined the classroom. Hi. And how would we spell the word ought? Let me think. Shall we check? I hope you got this one correct, because do you know, I don't think this is a word that we use very often. So if you don't know the word ought, it's a really good word to write down to learn for later. So well done with that spelling. What about the next word? Oh, this is an interesting one. Technician. How do we spell technician? And what's really important about the spelling of this one is the end. Now you will know when you look at the end of words that sometimes in English there are different ways in which we can do the shun sound. So how would you spell technician? Now, technician, that's somebody I sometimes need when my live classroom goes wrong or it doesn't work or the link doesn't work. Hi Arazi, good to see you in the classroom today. And you know, I can't have a technician at home because I'm not at work. I'm actually working out the live classroom myself. So if I can't do it, I talk to other people who are living in my home at the moment and say, who wants to be my technician, the person with the technical knowledge to be able to sort it out for me. So well done, Ezra, that's really good. Shall we see if that's the correct spelling? So technician, well done if you could get that word spelt correctly. And particularly because we're looking at the end of the word, the sound shun is the same sound as shun. So when you're looking at English spelling, make sure that you do check. Do you understand when we use C-I-A-N and when we use T-I-O-N? Excellent. So you could use that site if you wanted to check your spelling. I've seen you did really well today. So we're going to move on to email. Now, everybody thinks they know how to use email. Yeah, well, we do, don't we? We do know how to email other people. However, when you're writing an email for the exam, you have to follow a certain structure. And I know when I email different people that I don't use this particular structure when I'm writing my own personal email, but I do use it if I'm writing for an exam. So you need to use a short and accurate subject line. If you're doing entry level 3 functional skills, you get a mark for writing what the subject is. So make sure you do put that in. It gives you an extra mark. And use keywords from the exam question, because the examiner looks at your subject and this means what's the purpose? Why are you writing it? So the words they're going to be looking for are to do with purpose. And you need to use a proper salutation. Does anybody know what the word salutation means? Salutation, it just means the opening when you say hello to somebody. So the formal word salutation, it means the opening of your email when you say Dear Jane or Hi Jane, depending on how formal your email is. And if you don't know the name of the person you're writing to, use a salutation, an opening greeting. That's Dear Sir stroke Madam, comma, Dear Sir or Madam, comma, or to whom it may concern, comma. So don't use hello, hey or hi or other informal greetings unless you're writing your email to your friend, in which case you will open it differently. And do you notice that in a more formal email, you've got the start dear just like we have in a letter. So that's how you can tell the difference between your formal email and your informal email. And also, after the name, whether you write Dear Sir or Madam, or Dear Jane, or Hello Jane, you need to have a comma, and your examiner at Functional Skills is going to be looking for that comma. So I wonder how good we are at choosing formal or informal words. So we have two boxes. Formal, for words going into that box, would be words that we use in a formal email, and informal words going into that box will be words that we use in an informal email. So let's begin. Ask. Do you think this is formal or informal if you're writing? And this is really important whatever level you're writing at, because you need to know that ask is actually an informal word. What about enquire? Enquire means the same as ask. I want to ask, I want to inquire, but it's a formal word. Check. I'm just writing to check. Well done, Ezra, it is informal. And instead of saying I'm just writing to check, you might say I want to verify. Yes, formal. I want to verify. That's a really good word, and if you don't use it already, make a note of it and think, I'm going to have a go at writing enquire and verify when I'm writing a formal piece. So get. That's a little bit easier. So yes, well done, Ezra. You said check was informal, and it is. Get is also informal. So what word would you use instead of get when you want to write a formal piece of writing? Well, you can use the word receive. So instead of saying I didn't get my parcel, you can say I didn't receive my parcel, and look at the spelling of that word, R-E-C-E-I. Very important that you spell that correctly. So receive, I thought it was going to go into informal then, but no, it's a formal word. So apologise. Is apologise formal or informal? Sometimes I will say this. Yes, you're right, Ezra. Receive is formal. That's good. What about apologise? I say this a lot. Sometimes I will say, I apologise. I didn't know that was going to happen. Or please accept my apology. So is that formal or informal? It's formal. And so sorry would be to your friend, wouldn't it? Well done. Yes, Ezra, it is formal. So sorry would be the opposite, which is informal. Now you might know all of those words, but the point of the activity is for you to think about other words that you perhaps should be using for formal language and dividing your ideas into understanding what's formal and what's informal, because I think you know a lot of the words. Yes, Ezra, you're really good with formal and informal, and yes, sorry is informal. And you will find that some people, like me, might use the formal word apologise, even though they're talking in a friendly way or to their friends. So we do sometimes use those words differently. So looking at your email, I know that you're being told, who are you writing the email to? That's your audience. And why are you writing the email? That's your purpose. So why do we always, as teachers, keep telling you, you've got to do this? Who are you writing to? What's your purpose? And what's your content? Because these are the three things that your examiner is going to be marking for. And if you're used to doing ESOL exam, remember this is functional skills exam. So we have what have you written in your sentences, audience, tone and purpose. So there's 4 things there. You can just do a shape of a triangle or a circle to think about, have I done those 4 things? And on the left hand side there are 2 exam questions. You want to do a running channel to help you get fit. Invite a friend to do the challenge with you. That's one question I've taken from an exam paper. You sent the passport application form a few weeks ago, but your passport has not arrived. Write an email to the passport office asking them what is happening. So that's another question from the exam paper. So when you get an exam question, you'll always be given an audience. So the audience in the first exam question is your friend, and the audience in the second exam question is the passport office. So you need to really underline that or highlight that because that's quite important. And if you are writing to a friend, your tone is informal. If you're writing to the passport office, your tone is formal. And in terms of your purpose, you've been asked to invite your friend to do something in the first question. And in the second question, what have you been asked to do? You've actually been asked to ask the passport office what is happening. So you have to work out from your exam question, whatever your exam in English is, whether it's GCSE, functional skills or ESOL, you have to work out who am I supposed to be writing to, how am I supposed to be writing it, and why am I doing it. So for informal and formal, I think about opposites. So to begin with, for informal, colloquial language. That's the language that you hear with your friends. Oh, hi Gasho, good to see you. We're just talking about the informal and formal language. So for informal, colloquial. Contractions. So if you're not sure about contractions, revise that, because contractions are about when we say don't instead of do not. And abbreviated words. So this is where in your informal writing you can write TV. However, I don't want to see that in your formal writing, because in formal writing, the opposite of colloquial, standard English. So that's why I think about formal and informal as opposites. So what's the opposite of contractions? It means write the full words. Don't say don't in writing if it's not informal. It's do not. And never abbreviate. So in a formal email or a formal letter or a formal report, you wouldn't say TV, you would write the word television. So I'm going to just quickly go through a list of don't. That's informal, isn't it? Don't. Do not do this. That's the formal way of saying it. So any piece of writing that you're doing, if it's formal, don't use slang, words that you just hear that people in your area use. Don't use unnecessary contractions. Don't use emojis. Sometimes we do put emojis on our emails, don't we? But what you're really being asked to do is don't do that in a formal piece of writing. And don't use profanity. Do you know what the word profanity means? Anybody? So, profanity. Profanity is a formal word for the word that's to swear. So if you swear in English, then that is a profanity. And please don't use jokes. And the reason for this is your examiner might not have the same sense of humour that you have. So they're things that you shouldn't do when you're doing a piece of writing. So what should you do? We're going to have a look now at an exam question. So the exam question is to write an email to explain, and then you can see down the side there you've got your bullet points. And if there are 4 bullet points for your functional skills, your examiner will be marking and giving you a point for each one of those bullet points. So if you ignore them, you're not going to get as many marks. So your bullet point, why you want to get fit, when you want to start the challenge, what you think the benefits to your health will be, why you want your friend to join you in the challenge. So you've actually got to write 1 sentence for each of those bullet points. Now, you might not want to get fit, so you've really got to make it up. So when you're doing your English exams, a lot of what you're really doing is making sure you answer the question, and if it's not something you would really do, then you've got to make it up. So do practice thinking, if I was asked to write about what is it like to stay at home during this time we have to be at home, what would I write? If I'm asked to write about getting fit, what would I write? If I'm asked about being healthy, what would I write? And on your exam paper, you'll see this space, and it's for your planning. So you need to do a plan, not to get marks, but just so you get your ideas in the right order, and you think about, maybe here I've got 6 things that you could put. You might make it 4 arrows if you've only got 4 bullet points. And it's just for your brain to really be moving along with you to think about how you're going to do that. And I would like to show you this answer. So there's an arrow to where it says subject, because that part of the exam paper won't be written on. So you're supposed to fill that bit in, and that's how the examiner knows that you understand purpose. And when I looked at the 4 bullet points, they were really asking the question, what, why, when, and another why. So I have to answer it, and I do have to start Dear Joe, because that's how I start my emails off, and I use a comma, and then I'm going to put paragraphs, and you can't see the ending of my email there, but you might be able to see it on the next slide. And you have to finish the email. So remember, when we get on to the information that shows you how the examiner marks it, you'll see why you have to fill in those bits. It's really important from entry level 3 upwards that you think about paragraphs. And if you're not sure about paragraphing, we'll do that as a separate lesson. But we're thinking about a range of punctuation used correctly. So if you're not very good with your punctuation, just think of full stop, question mark, exclamation mark. If you've got those 3 types of sentences in there, you'll get the most marks for that. Now here it shows you the bullet points, and when you read the email, you're working out, have I answered that one? Have I answered that one? Have I answered this? And have I answered that one? And at least 50 words. So people often ask me, how long does it have to be? I think for entry level 3 functional skills, they sometimes start at 30 words. But I would say, make sure you're used to practicing writing something that's at least 50 words long. And make sure you've got a question in that piece of writing, and you've got an exclamatory sentence, because you're going to be using full stops, and hopefully you've also worked on commas. Language for this exam piece has to be suitable for an email to a friend. So here, where I've written Dear Joe, This is because that's how I sometimes write to my friend. But if you'd written, "Hello Joe," because it's a friendly email, your examiner will accept that as well. So you have to use at least one conjunction to write a compound sentence if you're entry level 3. If you're level 1, then you'll be expected to write your compound and complex sentences. And if you're level 2, you need to demonstrate you understand simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. So just within that one answer, you have to show those 3 things. If you're entry level 3 functional skills, all you have to have in that piece of writing is one conjunction. And you have to have at least a good salutation. Remember, that's the greeting, that's the opening. Or you have to have an appropriate subject, because either of those will get you the mark. And it has to be in a logical sequence and correct grammar. But you only get 1 mark for correct grammar. So if you're worried about your grammar, it's not really worth worrying about for 1 mark. Try and get the other bits right first. So I want you to think purpose, audience, text features. And your text features are going to include your formal or informal, and that depends on your question. So we can't tell you that. And I want you to think plan, bullet points, and connectives. So if you think in that way, how many sentences does it say to use? How many connectives do I need? And how many words? Then you've got the answer for an exam piece. And it's easy for me to say, it's as simple as that. But what I really want you to do is practice writing so that you've looked at all of those things. So the questions you have to ask yourself when you're doing any piece of writing for an exam: have I answered the question? Did I write the topic if it's an email? Have I followed the bullet points? And what did I begin my email with? Did I write enough sentences? Well, you will have practiced how many words. And did I look to see if it was formal or informal, which you should have done at the beginning? Did I end my email or my letter or my report properly? So when you've looked at all those questions and you've reviewed the type of work that you're doing for different types of questions, you will pass that exam. And I'd like to say thank you very much to Amelia, because I asked 3 people to send me an email that I was marking. Hello Norris, good to see you. And this is Amelia's plan. Fantastic. You don't need a massive plan. You just need a short plan that strictly goes through what are you going to add in the order you're going to add it. So that's a good example of a plan, Amelia. And your email that you wrote to me was really good. So I'm printing it off and I'm going to mark it for the exam and I'll send it back to you. So let's have a look at how does the examiner mark your piece of work. First of all, you get marks for writing in the subject line, or if you've written the correct opening, you get 1 mark for that. You also get marks for following bullet points and answering the questions. You get 1 mark for each bullet point. So if there are 4 bullet points, make sure you answer those 4 bullet points, because that's 4 marks. You also get marks for the correct sequence of your writing. You get 1 mark for that. And if you're writing an email, is your language suitable? You will get a mark. Have you used a conjunction? If you're working at entry level 3, that's all they're looking for there for a mark. And have you written, if it's entry level 3, at least 30 words? If you have, you get a mark. And these marks all add up. And then you have 2 extra areas, your punctuation. Now, how many marks do you think you would get for punctuation? Because lots of people worry about their punctuation. Have I put the full stop in the right place? Have I done that correctly? Let's just have a look. How many marks if you're entry level 3 functional skills? 1 mark. So you really don't need to worry. Just do your best when you're doing your writing, because you have 1 mark for that. Another thing that people worry about is correct grammar and your correct tense and that article that we're always forgetting to put in. Well, on entry level 3, if we were marking for this email, you only have 1 mark for that. So if you're worried about your grammar, if you're worried about your punctuation, that's only 2 marks you can lose. So the whole mark for the City and Guilds email, the whole mark for that actual question would be 11. And you'll only lose 2 marks if your punctuation isn't very good and your grammar isn't very good. So do you know what? 2 marks means that you still get 9 marks and you pass. So it's really, really important to know what's the structure of how my piece of writing is marked, because then you can look at what are the bits you're really good at. Oh, and Ezra, yes, I want to go, my grammar sometimes. So don't worry, because if for your grammar you're only getting 1 mark, then that's all the examiner can give you for that particular bit, so you don't need to worry about it. But I think you're probably moving on higher than entry level 3, so in another lesson I'll look at level 1 and level 2 so we can see how does the mark system change there. What are the marks in terms of that? So for this particular lesson, I'm really focusing on entry level 3 marks, because I know that some of you are still doing the entry level 3, and I don't want you to worry about grammar and punctuation at this point. You are going to need them, obviously, because you're moving on to other levels. What I really want you to know is, how does the examiner mark different things? This is just the email. There are different ways and different marks for bigger pieces of writing when your grammar and your punctuation will matter. So I am going to be looking at the fact that in the next 2 weeks we do actually have an Easter holiday. Now normally I would say to everybody, oh, there is an Easter holiday and you're all going to be at home with the children, so the classes won't take place. But for Doncaster it will be an Easter holiday, so that means that there will be less information in your Google Classrooms. However, if you're in the class that Lynn and I do at Wheatley, we will be putting less into the Google Classroom, but there'll be something there to keep you going. And I will still be doing some live classrooms, but they won't be on the Doncaster sites, and I might just add links for you. So I just want to show you 2 things I will be doing. If you're in a Doncaster class, then we are looking at a short story competition. So in the Easter holiday, I'm going to be looking at, what do you know about the short story? So I'll be taking you through the structure of how to write a short story, what are the language features, what is the punctuation and ideas that's expected. Now for some of you, you won't be writing the actual short story, but you will be reading some short stories, so this could be quite useful for your reading as well. And if you are in Doncaster, Doncaster are doing some competitions for writing short stories, so that might be a useful thing to do with your children over Easter. And I'm also going to look at cohesion. Now today was focused quite a lot on entry 3, so I hope it was revision for those people who are working at higher levels. However, cohesion is the really big thing about moving on to level 1 and level 2. So I'm just going to leave with you with the idea of what cohesion is. If you think about it, we have glue, and you use the glue to stick things together. So like you might be making something and stick some material onto some paper. And the glue is really the cohesion, the bit that allows the two separate pieces to stick together. So over the Easter holiday, I'm going to be doing some work on cohesion for level 1 and level 2, but entry level 3 are also welcome to join the online classes, because you might understand this bit too. And it's all about, what do you need in the English language to put everything together that means you're able to write accurate English. So cohesion, that's a lovely word when we think about glue and cohesive. And that's the end of today's online lesson. So I'm going to finish by using a very informal word. I'm not going to say goodbye, I'm going to say bye. So if you want to just say bye, that would be great. And you know, I'm going to add something else today. I'm going to put keep. Ooh, keep. You can see sometimes when we're writing, our spelling's not very good, and it might be to do with our typing. So I'm going to say keep well, and hopefully that says that, because as you can see, I'm not wearing my glasses today, and maybe I need to, so let's just find them. So bye, keep well. Thank you, Ezra. Yes. And remember, although it's Easter in the next 2 weeks, if I get some time, which I'm sure I will, because I'm confined at home like you are, then I'm going to pop onto the classroom and talk about the short story and about how we need cohesion in our text. Bye now.